From this point on, I don't want to see any more Tom and Jerry type boxing matches where one fighter is running around the ring and the other chasing him. We can no longer support these kind of fights with Riyadh Season in the ring. We want to support fighters who leave it all in the ring and fight with heart and pride. Who could Turki Alalshikh possibly be talking about in this situation? Interesting you bring that up. Let's look at some of the most recent ring ones. Let's go back to Cinco de Mayo weekend. The main event on that Saturday, William Skull, Canelo Alvarez. Yeah, that would definitely be a Tom and Jerry running around kind of situation there. Let's go to the Friday. Yes, Devin Haney, you are part of the problem. Now, you could easily say, Jose Ramirez, yeah, you also were a massive part of the problem because you didn't want to do jack in that fight either. But for Devin Haney, you were running around that ring, just dancing around, having fun. For William Skull, you were exactly just running around the ring the entire time. Once again, could Canelo Alvarez have cut off the ring and done something a little bit better? Absolutely. But without a shadow of a doubt, William Skull was the definition of a track star running around in that ring that night. Now, there could be many others that you could include in this discussion here, but those are two that come to mind very quickly. And what Turki Alalshikh is saying, I'm done with this. And you know what I'll say to that? Thank you, Turki. This is what boxing needs. It's come to a point in time where we need to get rid of these running things going down right now. And let me clarify this. When I say running, I don't mean elite defensive ability where you're able to avoid punches, not get hit, and still hit the other opponent more than you're getting hit. That's not what I'm talking about. Where you're staying in the pocket and utilizing extremely elite, high-level defense, IQ, and so on and so forth. That's a much different scenario than what we're looking at when we see a William Skull or what Devin Haney did against Jose Ramirez. Entirely different situations. There is a difference between running around like Turki Alalshikh is talking about and standing in the pocket and exchanging but just not getting hit. There's a massive difference. And what Turki Alalshikh is saying right now is, listen, he does not have the power to say, you know what, for going forward, we're just going to eliminate it out of boxing. You could possibly penalize him at a point or take away, deduct a point or whatever the case may be, but that's not what Turki Alalshikh is necessarily talking about. Turki Alalshikh's the man funding his events, the ring and Riyadh season. What he is saying right now is, listen, I see y'all fighting out there. If you're going to go out there and run around and screw around, you're not going to go bring it all into the ring, then guess what? You're not going to get that big paycheck that I'm giving out right now. And if that's going to be an incentive to a lot of guys to start fighting the right way, then I'm not sure what would. That should be the way to incentivize a lot of guys. Because nobody's paying more money right now than Turki Alalshikh, and that is a guarantee fact. And so if you are one of these guys out there that's running around and now you recognize, like, listen, where the money's all coming from right now, if he's not wanting to be willing to pay up for me, then I should probably start changing something about my fighting style. Because listen, there's a two-part thing to this. I've said this time and time again. At least for Devin Haney, he has the accolades and the name to be able to continue to get himself big fights. For a guy like William Skull, you were just a world champion, and that should have been debatable because your world championship fight was pathetic, and I don't know if you even really won that fight. But for William Skull, you are a guy now that nobody in the world wants to see. Your branding was not high enough. Your image was not high enough. We're going forward. William Skull is not getting another big fight anytime soon with anybody. So you screwed the bag for yourself. But now we're talking on the higher level with Turki Alalshikh, and this is what boxing needs. I know boxing fans are sick and tired of this garbage that we keep seeing from guys. And there still are great fights, don't get it wrong. But we have seen enough garbage of these fights of guys running around that we know there needs to be a change. And that's a fact. Sometimes there might be a situation where we look at Shakur Stevenson. He's had a performance where he obviously got hurt and just has to go run around a little bit. He just need to go get the win. And at the end of the day, getting the win is all you need to do. That's the biggest job for boxers. But let me just make this very clear. If your branded style is to go out there and purposely from the get-go of a game plan to go out there and run around the ring and that's how you want to win a fight, that type of situation cannot be tolerated in boxing whatsoever. That's a disgrace to the sport of boxing. And in fact, I don't even know if I should be calling that boxing because that's not boxing. I know a lot of people out there will say, hey, the point of boxing is to get hit less than you actually hit the guy. Correct. But it's not a track star. You're not going out to go be in a track meet and go run around or go run a couple miles or whatever the case may be. That's not boxing. You still have to actually engage and punch the guy. And what we're seeing in some of these situations is not that. We're seeing too much running around, as Turki Alalshikh put it. Tom and Jerry type boxing matches where one fighter is running around the ring and the other is chasing him. And so to that, people might not like Turki Alalshikh. I don't know why, but I like Turki Alalshikh when he's brought to boxing. But I know that for most boxing fans, if not all boxing fans, even your PBC fanboys that love PBC, that's something that you must look at and say, you know what, I'm on board with what Turki's saying right there. Because that's a fact. And you cannot deny that if you like boxing. So major props to Turki Alalshikh for putting that tweet out there, and hopefully he holds that to a legitimate standard and actually moves forward to help make boxing better as a whole.